The Guardians of the Galaxy are about to take their final flight in Volume 3, but these a-holes have really been through a lot since we first met them in 2014. So here's your refresher. Be sure to take notes, there's a test at the end.
Showtime, a-holes!
We start with 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy, which itself starts in 1988. Young Peter Quill's mother Meredith just passed away from a prolonged illness we later learn is brain cancer, and Peter isn't sure what to do with himself. Heartbroken, he runs into the night and is taken away by an advanced alien ship that's Yondu and the Ravagers. Present day 2014, Peter Quill is a treasure-hunting goof who calls himself Star-Lord.
Who?
Exactly. Anyway, all these years in outer space have changed his life trajectory dramatically, and Quill is now a Ravager himself. They're a group of, let's say, space pirates that initially took Peter from Earth, and they are essentially his family. Peter loves music, specifically the 70s cassette mix his mother made for him over 26 years earlier that subsequently became almost everyone's playlist after the movie came out. While doing adventurer stuff, Star-Lord meets Korath the Pursuer, who pursues the heck out of him when he steals a super secret orb that may or may not actually be an Infinity Stone. It's the Power Stone. Anyway, Yondu, the leader of the Ravagers, is pretty angry Peter stole the orb for himself and broke the group's code of loyalty. Yondu is a bit like Peter's paternal figure in that he'd always been soft on Peter.
You're the only one I've been soft on!
While simultaneously angry enough to put a bounty on his head, which is exactly what happens when he finds out Peter stole the orb. Meanwhile, a Kree by the name of Ronan, the Accuser, is mad as hell and ready to break peace treaties to destroy the planet of Xandar over past deeds. He's working with Thanos alongside two trained assassins, Gamora, aka Thanos' favorite adopted daughter and the deadliest woman in the galaxy, and Nebula, aka Thanos' second favorite daughter, of two. They find out Quill has the item, which is the orb, and Gamora is sent off to retrieve it. On the planet Xandar, a tree and a rodent are hanging out in a city center, which is way more interesting than it sounds because they're Rocket and Groot, two criminal misfit partners looking to capture a bounty for the reward money. That bounty is none other than Peter Quill, and turns out he's Gamora's target too, and all four of them get in a fight and wind up getting arrested by the Nova Corps and thrown in the Kiln, a high-security prison. They don't make friends, but do bond with each other, even Gamora, who is an outcast since many prisoners are reasonably not fans of Ronan and or Thanos, like this guy, Drax the Destroyer. A super literal warrior who wants revenge for Ronan slaughtering his family.
She betrayed Ronan. He's coming back for her. And when he does, that's when you...
Why would I put my finger on his throat?
What?
Gamora announces that not only is she not on Ronan's side, she was betraying him, and keeping her alive is their only chance at taking him down. Speaking of, Ronan hears of Gamora's intentions, and he and Nebula pursue her and the very precious and mysterious orb as Rocket draws up plans for the group to escape. Groot good-naturedly starts a prison riot, and they fast-track their escape plan. With their stuff and Peter's ship, the Milano, back, they head to Nowhere, a lawless place inside the skull of a dead Celestial. Gamora leads the group to the Collector so they can sell the orb. While waiting, Rocket, Groot, and Drax bond over drinking and gambling, and Peter teaches Gamora about music, which she has mixed reactions to.
No!
Rocket and Drax stop getting along, and Drax splits as the Collector's beleaguered enslaved assistant Karina collects the group and begin the purchase. In the Collector's Museum are many Easter eggs, including Cosmo the space dog, Howard the duck, a cocoon which may or may not have ties to Adam Warlock, a Chitauri alien from the first Avengers movie, a dark elf and a frost giant from the Thor movies, and slugs from James Gunn's earlier film, Slither. The Collector, Tanelair Tivan, finally reveals what's in the orb, an Infinity Stone, along with exactly what an Infinity Stone is. A singularity of extraordinary power that predates creation formed into a concentrated ingot. You probably know what they are. The very powerful objects that Thanos wants to collect in order to snap half of all life out of existence. This one is the Power Stone, so you know it's extra powerful. Karina sees an opportunity and seizes it, stealing the stone to free herself from her captor, the Collector, But she isn't strong enough to handle the stone, and its energy kills her and takes out most of the museum with it. Gamora reseals the stone inside the orb, and they argue over what to do. Meanwhile, Drax call in Ronan while he was absent from the group because he impatiently wanted to face him and avenge his family. Yondu also shows up, so there's another problem. Rocket, Groot, Gamora, and Peter try to escape and keep the stone out of Ronan's hands, and Ronan tells Drax he has no idea who he is and defeats him soundly. Nebula steals the stone and blasts Gamora's ship to bits, leaving her precariously floating in space to freeze and suffocate. Peter chooses to rescue her and face Yondu's wrath, and Rocket chooses to tell Drax he's a huge idiot for causing all of this.
None of this ever would have happened if you didn't try to single-handedly take on a freaking army!
Ronan cracks open the orb and absorbs it like a Cadbury cream Easter egg, except instead of a headache, he gets ultimate power. And just in case you think he's cool, he makes it clear he did this because he's mad Thanos called him boy.
You call me boy!
Nebula thought it was cool, at least. They all regroup with the Ravagers and develop a plan to stop Ronan from blowing up Xandar. They tell Nova officer John C. Reilly about the attack and their intentions to help, and he tells Nova Prime down on Xandar.
He says that he's an a-hole, but he's not, and I'm quoting him here, 100% a dick.
The Nova Corps mobilizes, Yondu whips ass, and Peter, Gamora, Drax, and Groot enter Ronan's ship according to the plan, where they square off with Nebula and Ronan's forces.
Star-Lord.
Finally.
Ronan wipes out countless Nova Corps members with the stone, and his ship, the Dark Aster, starts to plummet to Xandar with the Guardians inside after a confrontation with Ronan. Groot saves everyone, and the other four survive the crash intact. Just as Ronan is about to level the survivors' planet side, Peter starts a sing and dance along so that Drax and Rocket can blast the Power Stone away from Ronan.
Ooh, child, things will get brighter.
Peter lunges for it, knowing the stone's amazing power will tear him to pieces, and Gamora holds on to him to absorb some of the energy, followed by Drax and Rocket. Together, they blast Ronan with the stone, killing him, and they all survive.
Well, well, well. Quite the light show.
Rocket tearfully puts a piece of Groot's shattered wooden body into a pot and carries it around. Nova Prime reveals why Peter survived. He's only half Terran, or Earth human. His father was a being from somewhere else. They expunge their criminal records, and the group takes off together aboard the Milano as a mostly happy family. For the mid-credits scene, the moment that launched literal tons of merch, the only character whose cuteness could rival Grogu's, Baby Groot. Growing in his planter, Baby Groot vibes to the Jackson 5 while Drax cleans his knife, and that's basically it. That's the whole scene. Sometimes simplicity just works. Post-credits, the Collector, bandaged up in the rubble with Cosmo the space dog, has a drink with Howard the Duck.
Gross.
It's 2017, or rather 1980, when we start this movie. That means Peter was at most 7 when his mother died? He seemed older. Okay, anyway, Meredith Quill is healthy, happy, and head over heels for this one guy, Ego the Living Planet. Well, Ego, the younger version of Kurt Russell, for now. And well, look, he's a bit of a gardener. We fast forward to 2014, shortly after Guardians 1 on the Sovereign. The Guardians gang, Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, and Baby Groot do battle as mercenaries with the interdimensional beast, Obelisk, to protect the planet's power source for the ever-perfect Sovereigns in exchange for Nebula. So they can turn her in for her crimes against Xandar. One more gratuitous shirtless scene later, Drax explains why Star-Lord, I guess I'm calling him that now instead of just Peter or that dum-dum, should give up his pursuit of Gamora, and ironically the Sovereign's pursuit of the Guardians begins because apparently Rocket stole one of their very important batteries.
You wanna buy some batteries?
This results in a power struggle and a crash on a mysterious planet where they meet Ego, Peter's father.
After all these years, I've found you.
Meanwhile, Yondu has been hanging out on Contraxia, where it becomes clear he is an outcast among the Ravagers for going soft on Star-Lord. Conveniently, the Sovereign has just the opportunity he needs, but his crew is really on the edge of turning on him. Ego tells Peter he hired Yondu to collect him, but he never returned him.
thought Yondu was your father.
What? We've been together this whole time. You thought Yondu was my actual blood relative?
You look exactly alike.
He invites the whole group to his planet and announces he's ready to be Dad of the Year. At this time, we meet another new character, Mantis, who doesn't know how to be around others and has empathetic powers. An excellent combination.
Romantic. Sexual love.
No, I don't.
For her.
No.
Rocket easily takes out the group of Ravagers stalking around their base with an assist from Nebula. And by assist, I mean she gets Rocket kidnapped by another cool new character,
Taserface!
Taserface. His face is like a taser, you see.
It's metaphorical!
Taserface. He's led the group in a mutiny against Yondu, and they've got him by the robotic mohawk. Nebula steps in and convinces them to follow her and collect Yondu's and Rocket's bounties instead of killing them. Ego reveals to the rest of the group he's a Celestial who wanted to seek out life in the universe, and that Peter's mother was his first love, and he couldn't stand to come back to watch her die.
You can't imagine what that's like!
I know exactly what that feels like! I had to watch her die!
He also teaches Peter to use his celestial powers for the first time so they can have a cats in the cradle moment. Mantis and Drax bond, but Mantis gets interrupted as she's about to reveal a big secret. Yondu and Rocket devise an escape plan with baby Groot, and oh man, the ass kicking the mutinying Ravagers get. Actually, I think they're mainly dead. Nebula tries to sneak up on Gamora out of misplaced sibling jealousy / rage, and they have a gigantic fight on Ego's planet. Then she reveals Gamora was the one with misplaced jealousy and rage, and they sort of work things out, finally. I mean, my sister is the favorite too, and I got over it. I'm super over it.
Get over it.
It's fine! Ego gives Peter a poetry lesson, but by that he means he thinks only his life, and by extension Peter's, as his only celestially powered offspring, matters, and he would continue to and already has killed everyone, including his other children and Meredith Quill, to preserve that. Wow, what a surprise from a guy literally named Ego. Peter takes issue with his ideology, and Ego takes issue with that. Yondu and Rocket have a breakthrough, Mantis reveals Ego's secret to Gamora, Drax, and Nebula, and they all mobilize to save Peter. They need to get to Ego's core in the caverns under the planet's surface. And as it also turns out, Yondu didn't give Peter back to Ego as a means to protect him from being killed off, not to let his crew eat him like he'd been saying forever. Then, the winners of the Worst Timing Awards, the Sovereigns, show up and ruin the Ego core attack plan, and their only shot becomes a timed bomb that will destroy the whole planet. Luckily, it's Baby Groot's job to not mess it up.
Which button is the button you're supposed to push? Point to it. No!
Mantis holds off Ego, Nebula and Yondu take care of the Sovereign, and Yondu and Peter avoid being killed in an explosion in a really cool way.
You look like Mary Poppins.
Is he cool?
Hell yeah, he's cool.
Mantis loses control and Ego's back in giant face form. He pins down everyone there and activates the seeds he's planted on various planets, including Earth.
I got a penis.
Ha!
And no, I'm not being metaphorical. These seeds are meant to terraform each planet they're on to become new extensions of Ego, and are only activated by a second Celestial's power. That's what he wanted Peter to do for him, and that's where all his other children failed. Ego tells Peter that nothing else matters besides them, the all-powerful Celestials. Sheesh, raised by a narcissist much? Except Peter remembers he wasn't raised by Ego. He was raised by Yondu, who chose to become his lifelong paternal figure. Peter thinks of his love for his found family to rise up and stop Ego, freeing everyone, including Groot, who starts the bomb. Yondu insists Rocket leave the crew and leave him and Peter behind, which he does begrudgingly. The bomb successfully kills Ego and takes away Peter's powers, and he waits alone, ready to die on the collapsing planet. Yondu chooses to sacrifice his life to save Peter, telling him he's lucky he's his boy. They send him off tearfully, and the other Ravagers come to give him a proper Ravager funeral.
What a day.
In the first mid-credits scene, Kraglin is messing around with Yondu's whistle-activated needle weapon, which Peter gifted him. And, it's a dangerous weapon, as Drax could tell you. In the second after-credits scene, all the various celebrity cameo Ravagers played by Sylvester Stallone, Michelle Yeoh, Miley Cyrus, and Michael Rosenbaum decide to reunite as a team. And in the third post-credits scene, Aisha of the Sovereign, looking far more stressed out than usual, unveils a more powerful birthing pod presumably housing a really perfect, really powerful, really annoying golden man named Adam Warlock we'll meet later. And finally, I promise this is the last scene, we see an older teenaged Groot sassing back Peter who wants him to get off his god-dang video game and clean his room. That's right, no more cute baby Groot. It's teenage jerkwad Groot as we head into the Infinity War. The Guardians of the Galaxy are not the central team here, that's obviously the Avengers. Though, the characters did have special parts to play all their own in this epic conflict. Let's dig into it. 4 years after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, the crew of the Benatar, which now permanently includes Mantis, responds to an Asgardian distress call, saving Thor after the destruction of the Statesman, which resulted in the massacre of half the Asgardians on board by Thanos and the Black Order. Also, everyone is very impressed by Thor, and Peter may be developing a complex.
How the hell is this dude still alive?
He is not a dude. You're a dude. This is a man.
Gamora fills Thor in on Thanos' plan as his adopted daughter, and the team splits up between two objectives. Thor takes Rocket and Groot to Nidavellir to get Stormbreaker, and Gamora, Peter, Drax, and Mantis head to Nowhere to intercept Thanos, who's after the Reality Stone there held by the Collector. Before they go, Gamora remembers her childhood as Thanos' daughter and asks Peter to promise he'll kill her if Thanos gets a hold of her because she knows something that could possibly spell the end of the universe. They break their unspoken thing and kiss. Drax and a bag of chips are there too.
Dude, how long have you been standing there?
An hour.
An hour?
When the second team arrives, they hear Thanos interrogating the Collector, and Gamora is surprisingly able to immediately kill Thanos. Except she didn't, and it was an illusion. Thanos already had the stone and knocks out Drax and Mantis and captures Gamora. Peter threatens Thanos as Gamora reminds him of the promise, and he very regretfully pulls the trigger of his gun on her, but since Thanos has the Reality Stone, he makes the moment silly and steals her away. Groot and Rocket arrive on Nidavellir with Thor, but the famous forge has gone out, and the smith Atri can only make a new weapon for Thor if he can repower the forge by awakening the power of a star. He does, but nearly dies. Luckily, Groot saves his life by contributing the handle to Stormbreaker. Rocket and Groot go with him to the battlefield in Wakanda. On Titan, Thanos shows Gamora he's holding Nebula in a state of suspended torture, dragging the location of the stone out from Gamora. It's on Vormir. Thanos takes Gamora to Vormir and sacrifices her in order to take the Soul Stone. That's it. She's dead. Star-Lord, Drax, and Mantis meet Nebula on Titan just in time to have a confusing fight with Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange.
Where is Gamora?
Yeah, I'll do you one better. Who's Gamora?
I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora?
And argue about how to best attack Thanos. The three Guardians lie in wait as Thanos approaches Doctor Strange and pretty successfully ambush him, with Mantis' sleep-inducing ability subduing him. That is, until Star-Lord ruins it.
No, you did not!
Stop!
And Thanos nearly wipes them out and bounces after Doctor Strange surrenders the Time Stone. And that's where things go really downhill for everyone. Thanos wins and snaps every single one of the living Guardians out of existence except Rocket on Earth and Nebula trapped on Titan. In Avengers Endgame, we pick up a couple weeks later with Nebula and Tony Stark stranded in space, feeling miserable, knowing what happened, until they're rescued by Captain Marvel and brought to the Avengers compound on Earth. Nebula tells the remaining heroes where Thanos is, and they all head out to get him. Thor cuts his head open, and nothing changes. 5 years later, they're still trying to fix things and not getting far. Both Rocket and Nebula had presumably been helping during this time by going on missions to hopefully figure something out. Everything is still awful until Scott Lang breaks free from the quantum realm thanks to a rat. Not Rocket, a hero rat, the most consequential rat of all time and space. Scott brings a time travel plan to the table, which Rocket and Nebula return to Earth to assist in. Rocket helps get his old friend Thor back on track, and he and Nebula are the only non-Avengers in the time heist. We also learn some fun rules about time travel in which different versions of one being can exist if you go back in time and do something.
So Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit?
Not important now, very important later. Rocket again helps his buddy Thor work some things out in the Thor 2 time period and successfully gets the Reality Stone while Nebula goes to 2014 Morag with Rhodey to get the Power Stone. They easily take it from 2014 Peter Quill, but they're also up against Nebula's past self, past Thanos, and past Gamora. Due to her cyborg nature, past Nebula transmits what present Nebula knows, so past Thanos and Gamora see them coming and figure out the whole Stop Thanos plan. Whoops. Present Nebula realizes exactly what happened and calls for help. We cut back to the present-day Avengers compound. The time heist is a success, and they retrieve all the Infinity Stones, and Hulk undoes the blip, but just then Thanos attacks the Avengers compound where they all are. Turns out the Nebula who came back from the heist was past Thanos-loyal Nebula, not cool present Nebula, and she led him right to them. The good Nebula is on the ship with past Gamora and tells her they have a good relationship in the future, so they team up and stop Thanos. As you will recall in the original Guardians of the Galaxy, Gamora at this point in her life wanted to turn on Thanos. Bad past Nebula takes the Infinity Gauntlet from a confused Hawkeye.
What?
And the Nebulas and Gamora have a standoff, resulting in the good Nebula killing her past self. No! Kylo Ren would approve. Of course you'll remember the most epic battle in MCU history. Everyone snapped out of existence, including Quill, Drax, Mantis, and Groot come back, and together they defeat Thanos for real this time. Peter tries to kiss past Gamora, and she gives him a swift knee to the crotch, questioning why the other version of herself would have fallen for him. By the end of the movie, Thor decides to join the Guardians and continue to heighten Quill's complex with how much of a worthy leader and hero he is.
This is my ship still. I'm in charge.
I know, of course you are. Of course.
So you say of course, but then you touch the map.
Past Gamora is somewhere in this timeline, but MIA for now. At the top of Thor Love and Thunder, Thor, who'd been going through a lot of loss, is going on classic Thor adventures with the Guardians of the Galaxy minus Gamora plus Kraglin plus Yondu's Mohawk fin, finding his footing again and kicking a lot of ass on the planet Indigar, for which he's granted some loud annoying goats which all the Guardians, except Drax, are not fans of. Kraglin gets married for some reason, and they see several distress calls about Gore the God Butcher, which causes Quill to suggest splitting up. Quill tells Thor that he needs to find himself and find meaning, which he could do through finding love. The Guardians leave to presumably help people on those calls and not talk to Thor anymore. And that's it for them in this movie. Seeing as Peter Quill is the only space character who has any idea what Christmas is, this special is full of confusion, hilarity, and emotion. We start on Nowhere in 2025. The Guardians bought the very roughed up Nowhere from the Collector as their new base. Kraglin tells a sad story flashing back to Peter as a newly abducted kid whose childlike Christmas cheer gets shut down by a very Scrooge-like Yondu, who stomps his little tree and trashes a gift from him. Mantis tells Drax she really wants to make a nice Christmas for Peter, especially since she recently found out they are half-siblings. Meanwhile, Rocket talks to and treats Cosmo the space dog, who seems to be part of the group now, as they work to fix up Nowhere. Groot is as big as a linebacker, but has a huge unsettling baby Groot face. After hearing a weird and messed up Christmas song from the old 97s, Drax gives Mantis a great idea to give Peter the best Christmas gift ever: Kevin Bacon! Bacon!
We hate you.
Since they'd heard for years from Peter that Kevin Bacon is some kind of awesome Earth hero, they resolved to take him from Earth and present him to Peter. They fly the Bowie over LA and wander around Hollywood, where they fit in pretty well with the badly costumed weirdos outside the Chinese theater who are always trying to aggressively pressure tourists to pay them $20 for a picture with the filthiest knockoff Mickey Mouse costume you've ever smelled. This is off topic, but if you come here on vacation, don't engage them, I'm telling you. Anyway, mistaken for the costumed people, they make a lot of money in tips, and only one GoBot gets beaten to a pulp. Mantis and Drax take their cash and search for Kevin Bacon in a bar, but instead get drunk. Mantis convinces a woman at a tacky souvenir shop to give them a star map to Kevin Bacon's house along with all her money. Mantis! They hop his fence, snag all his holiday decorations, and chase Mr. Footloose around until Mantis and Drax subdue 4 patrol cars full of police, which seems like a lot of responders, until Mantis uses her powers to get Kevin Bacon to buy a ton of holiday decorations and get on their ship. Does Mantis low-key have the best powers? The duo realizes Kevin Bacon is not a hero, just a disgusting, repugnant actor. So Mantis makes him pretend to be cool. They join up with everyone else and sneak up on Peter to surprise him with string lights, decorations, fake snow, and a big, man-sized box with Kevin Bacon inside. Peter freaks out because, as he correctly points out, this is human trafficking, so Mantis undoes her trance over Kevin Bacon, so then he freaks out. Then he calls Rocket a raccoon, and he freaks out. Kraglin tells Kevin Bacon how inspirational he was to Peter, and that his friends just wanted him to have a happy holiday for once. So he decides to join the band and sing a Christmas song for everyone while they exchange gifts. Rocket gets the best one from Nebula. Finally, Mantis and Peter talk alone, and Peter finishes the animated flashback Christmas story. Yondu pulled the gift from Peter out of the trash and kept it forever. He also gifted Peter his pair of guns he still uses to this day. Mantis tearfully reveals she is Peter's sister, and he's overjoyed, calling it the best Christmas gift he could ever get, and they hug. In the after-credits scene, Rocket and Cosmo dress Groot up like a Christmas tree, which he gives up on. Cosmo says Groot ruined Christmas, and Rocket says, "Now we gotta have another special." Guardians of the Galaxy comes to theaters May 5th, and now you're all caught up? Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kim Horcher, and for more Guardians, how about the villain of Volume 3, the High Evolutionary? Here's the full breakdown, so be sure to check that out, and don't forget to follow and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.